Okay. Hi everyone. We're gonna get started. This is the Leadership Skills Camp, and it's part of two camps. So the first one is today, and the second one will be tomorrow. My name is Audrey. So first, for introduction, I'll introduce myself, and you guys can put it in the chat, or you guys can just listen. My name is Audrey. I'm going to be a sophomore next year. My favorite color is blue, and I'm currently in California. Um, my favorite word is superficial, and my ideal vacation spot would be Hawaii. And then a bit about my background. So I have 7+ years of leadership experience. I was school vice president, and right now I'm currently class secretary for my whole grade. I've also been in student council for many years. I've been peace builder, legislative council in high school for 2 years. And I've also been like a really big part of homecoming, which is something that Limbrook, which is my high school, that we do a lot. I also have mock trial experience, which helps my public speaking greatly. Okay. So the first thing we're going to talk about is a leader versus boss and what the difference is. So I know many people, when you think of leadership, you probably like associate the word with boss as well, but they're pretty different. So I think this is really important to understand. When I was doing my speech to be elected for like vice president and such, um, my first line that I said was, "A boss has a title and a leader has the people." I think this is a really good quote, and it really shows what the difference is between the two. So first of all, a leader, um, the leaders, like, they inspire and they motivate others and they promote collaboration. So it's more of like a team building mindset and a growth mindset. Whereas a boss just thinks that they're in charge and everyone is under them. So in that way, with their mindset, they would just be like controlling and directing others. Additionally, for a leader, you're supposed to like empower others and bring other people up to your level and invest in like the growth of a team as a group. So again, that's like the growth mindset and a team mindset. But for a boss, it's sort of more like monitoring other people's performances, and then you're kind of focused on yourself and you put yourself first instead of the team. So I have three examples, and I think these are super helpful. The first one would be just like a project deadline. So how a boss would handle this is you would probably say like, "Oh, we need to meet this deadline, and I expect everyone to work overtime. Like this is our goal, and we need to finish it." This is kind of like just centered around one thing, and the boss doesn't really care about the team's input or how they're doing. Whereas a leader would probably say, like, "Oh, we have a really tight deadline coming up. Let's work together and see how we can put in our effort to meet it. And if anyone has like any concerns or anything, please let me know." So they're working to see how other people want to approach this problem, and they're really focused on making sure that like the team as a whole feels supported, which is really important. So the next example would be like addressing a mistake. The boss, if someone made a mistake, the boss would probably say like, "Oh, you made a mistake," by calling them out and say like, "Please fix it immediately and make sure it doesn't happen again." So this approach is really direct, and they kind of focus on just like blaming someone immediately and then saying like, "Oh, please just fix it," which I guess there's nothing wrong with that, but it might cause problems later in the future if you're working in a team setting where you're calling someone out directly. So instead, what a leader would say is something like, "I noticed that there was an error or you made a mistake. We could like go over it together and see how we can correct it and fix it in the future." Additionally, I know in the past when I've worked in group settings, if someone is like constantly being late to meetings or you're just seeing like a problem with them overall, something you could also say is just like, "I noticed that maybe you've been like meeting deadlines late or you haven't been performing your best, and you should ask them sort of like, is there anything I can do to help or anything that are we as a team could do to help you fix this problem," instead of just dumping the load on them, because sometimes people have like their own personal issues and that's why they're making such mistakes. So again, for a leader, they'll probably just speak privately to the employee without calling them out in front of everyone. And this approach is, I would say, a lot better because it's supportive and you're focusing on like a learning and improving environment instead of just saying like, oh, you did something wrong, like go fix it. The third example would be recognizing achievements. So a boss, usually you would probably just send like a generic message saying like, oh, good job team, like good job for your hard work, keep it up. But as a boss, this is really interpersonal and it's not specific enough. And it kind of like distances yourself from the team, which you don't want. So if you're a leader, or the difference is that a leader would probably recognize individual contributions. And by doing this, you're calling someone out, but this isn't just like saying, oh, you made a mistake. By calling someone out for something specifically that they did well, it kind of gives them hope and makes them keep on doing what they've been doing, which just fosters a better environment overall. So saying something like, I want to highlight the excellent work that this person specifically did on the project, especially his or her creative problem solving. So this message, it's really specific and it shows that you've actually been paying attention to what your team has been doing. So it shows that you like genuinely appreciate and you're trying to engage with your team and sort of like bringing yourself closer to them. Okay, so now we're going to be talking about grit. Grit, basically, the textbook definition would be courage and resolve and strength of character. I think this is really important to part of being a leader, and it's one of the first things that I learned. When I was, I think, in elementary, I didn't really know what grit was, but I found this really good video that I think explains it well enough. And this isn't just for like leadership. Grit helps you in a lot of other ways. So just like in high school life or in your career in the future, keep this in mind. So this is the video, and I'm just gonna show you guys.
Job that was even more demanding, teaching. I went to teach seventh graders math in the New York City public schools. And for a job that was even more demanding, teaching. I went to teach seventh graders math in the New York City public schools. And like any teacher, I made quizzes and tests. I gave out homework assignments. When the work came back, I calculated grades. What struck me was that IQ was not the only
Okay, so that was the video. Basically a recap of the video. She talks about grit being sort of like perseverance for long-term goals, and this is super important and leads us to the next topic. So she was talking about how people in schools, they were being successful. Not It's not only about like your IQ or like your surroundings. Obviously these things do impact you, but in the end, grit is like perseverance and it keeps you going. So even if you're not as financially well off, or you don't have as good of a experience in high school, or your IQ isn't as high as someone else, if you have grit for a certain area of success and you want to achieve that goal, then you can be successful. So now we're going to go on to SMART goals. And this is one of the best ways to grow grit, as she was talking about. So by setting like these goals, it helps you a lot in achieving your own goals and growing grit, which is super important. So a SMART goal is kind of like an acronym. It stands for specific, measurable, actionable, realistic, and time bound. So the S is specific. It's really important to have specific goals, and your goals need to sort of outline what you want to do, and they need to be detailed. So this really helps you achieve them easier, and it also helps you know where to get started. So an example of a specific goal would be I'm going to read 100 pages every single day for 2 weeks, instead of just I'm going to read more. And going on to the next one, if we're saying I want to read more, well, how would you measure that? You need sort of like something that you could track. So by setting a measurable goal, you can track and allow you to see your progress. And this also tells you when a goal is complete. So I said I want to read every single day 100 pages for 2 weeks straight. So what I could do is I could make a log, and every single time I read for 100 pages, I would just mark an X off of that day until it's been 14 days or 2 weeks. So this way you can tell when your goal is complete, and it's much more measurable than just saying I want to read more, because there's no way to really measure that. Actionable. This is sort of like, are you able to take action to achieve your goal? So what steps are you going to take to make sure that you can reach that goal? Well, for me, I would just say that I would read. But for example, if you wanted to be more active, like be stronger, what steps would you take to reach that goal? You could say I would do 100 steps a day, 10 crunches, 10 pull-ups, things like that. Realistic would be sort of like making sure that the goal is reachable. So saying like I want to be a billionaire, or I want to be an author by the age of like 5. That's really not realistic. And this sort of just creates unnecessary stress and overwhelms you at the same time when you're trying to set a goal, because there's no way you can reach that. So all you would do is just end up making yourself sad when you can't reach it. So that's why realistic is important. Time bound is really good. It kind of relates to measurable and actionable. So time bound is a specific date, and it helps you stay motivated and focused at the same time, and it inspires you. So for example, I said 2 weeks, that would be like a date. And not only does that make my goal measurable, but it's also bound within a certain area of time. And this way, I don't have forever to just keep on procrastinating about this one goal. I have to do it every single day for 2 weeks. Time bound also help you stay restricted, and it just keeps you really motivated overall. So this is what a SMART goal is: specific, measurable, actionable, realistic, and time bound. Now we're going to do a quick example. So the first one, I will not take a break until I have finished 1 hour of work time, and my breaks will be from 5 to 15 minutes depending on my schedule for the next 2 weeks using a timer. So this is really good. We can break it down. I'll go back and forth between the slides, and you can see every single letter is present in these goals. So number one, specific. This goal is specific. It's talking about not taking a break until you finish 1 hour of work time, and then the breaks are from 5 to 15 minutes, next 2 weeks using a timer. So that's a lot of detail, and it outlines the goal very clearly, so there's no sense of like arbitrariness. For measurable, it can be measurable. I say explicitly that I'll use a timer to measure the breaks for the next 2 weeks. So that's measurable. And also the breaks will be from 5 to 15 minutes. So now we have actionable. So are you able to take action to achieve the goal? Well, I'm saying that I'm not going to take a break unless I finished 1 hour of work. So it's pretty actionable, I would say. Realistic. This is very realistic. I would set this goal if, for example, I was procrastinating a lot, and I was just not focusing on doing my work. I kept on taking breaks or such things. I would set this goal for myself, and I think it's realistic enough that I can do it. So notice I'm not saying like I'm not going to take a break until I finished like 5 hours of work or something. That wouldn't be really realistic because I would be bound to break that goal in the end and just end up being productive again, unproductive again. So that's realistic. Time bound, it says, first of all, my breaks will be from 5 to 15 minutes. So that's both specific, measurable, and time bound. And then it says the next 2 weeks. So next 2 weeks would make it very time bound and show that I'm going to consistently do this every single day for the next 2 weeks. The second goal that I have is I will practice my dances for 2 hours in total, at least 4 times a week outside of dance class after finishing my work or while taking a break for the next month by keeping a log. So we're gonna go through it again, but I think you guys probably have a hang of this by now. One, it's very specific. I will practice my dances for at least 4 hours total, after finishing my work or taking a break or while taking a break. Measurable, it's very measurable. I said here that I'm going to record it by keeping a log of all the information. So like that would basically make sure that I have at least 2 hours total of practice. Actionable, I can't take action by doing this goal after I finish my work or while taking a break. Realistic, I think this is pretty realistic for me. I don't have a lot of time. So if I said I will practice my dances for like 20 hours in total, at least 4 times a week outside of dance class, that would not be realistic. But 2 hours is pretty realistic for me. And time bound, the last one, this is like a date. So I said for the next month. So I'll probably start this on, for example, like July 1st and continue this throughout the whole month until the next month. And I would like record every single day by keeping a log. So now I'm going to give you guys, it says 5 minutes here, but I think I'll give you guys like 5 or 6 minutes to come up with your own SMART goals. And then after, when you're done, you can put them in the chat and I can give you feedback. Or if you don't want, you can just keep it to yourself. And I will put this slide up on the screen so you guys can see and make sure that you are reaching like every single one of these things. So specific, measurable, actionable, realistic, and timeout. Like 6 or 7 minutes. Yeah. Okay. Okay, so next, now that you guys finished SMART goals, I'm gonna go over public speaking tips. So a lot of, oh, okay. Someone put their SMART goal in the chat. I'm gonna read it and just evaluate. Hold on. Okay, exercising 30 minutes a day with a timer with a breakout. Yeah, okay, Rex. This is a really good SMART goal. Thank you. I can see that you have a specific, measurable, actionable, realistic, and time bound. I think this is really good. Good job. Okay. So public speaking tips. First of all, this has like I think public speaking is not essential to being a great leader. I know a lot of people they are not great at public speaking, but through their actions they can still convey that like you're a good leader. But I think one of the things that really propelled me into holding like so many leadership positions is that I I'm an efficient public speaker. So in front of a crowd, I can grab their attention. I'm known for just being good at like presenting. And public speaking is not only just like, oh, you have to be a good leader or something. You can grow public speaking by yourself, just talking. And it's also super helpful for like when you grow older, you're going to have to do presentations inevitably. So being good at public speaking is really a life skill that you should have. And it, of course, helps in being a good leader. So first of all, for public speaking, I would say um, keep the audience in mind and always adjust accordingly. So if you're just doing like a simple class presentation, then probably you don't have to be super serious about it. You could, I guess, add some humor and some more of your personality. If you're kind of presenting for like a business conference or something more serious like a scientific presentation for a science fair, which I've also done in the past, then I would say being more serious and to the point would be obviously appropriate and you want less humor. Another thing is getting their attention. So you can do this with props or a costume. As you can see in the video I'll play for you, this person, she's from my school. She graduated this year. She's a senior. And I think that her speech was really good and it's on YouTube. So we're going to watch that as a good example of public speaking. You can see here she has a hat. You can't see what it says, but it says K for IDC. So her name is Kirsten. And she was running to be like in a leadership position at our school. So she made the hat herself. And throughout the week, what she did was she was giving the hat to people to take pictures with. And then at the actual like speech, when it was time for her speech, she also wore it to grab the attention of the viewers. This is sort of like a prop or a costume. For me, when I don't have any pictures, but when I was running for class secretary, what I did for my speech was I had a huge poster board and I decorated it with like really neon colors. The whole week I was super neon. So I was dressed in like a traffic suit almost. It was like really eye-catching, and that's how I got people's attention, and that's how I made them recognize me. So I made a poster board and I wrote like Audrey for secretary, and then I had a bunch of points which I was going to like cover in my speech about why you should vote for me. So those are some examples of what you could do for attention. Even in just like class presentations, I know people that like to dress up, they like to use props. So these could be helpful for you. You also want to be super purposeful with your words. So this is like when you're writing a speech or a presentation, you might have like a time or a word limit. So for election speeches, it's usually like 1.5 minutes. And sometimes it's hard to fit whatever you want to say in that word limit. So it's really important to be purposeful with your words and also like use your time correctly and wisely. So these are overall tips, and then I'm gonna play the video for you guys. One thing I want you to notice is how she uses her words. She fits a lot into this speech, but you can also tell very clearly what she's saying. And also, I would like you to watch her body language as well.
You know, Limbrook, whether you're at homecoming dance or winter formal, getting crushed on both sides by friends, dancing, sweaty students as family ties to the speakers,
really think about what's in this running to be your IEC representative. Because as the candidate with multiple years of ASB experience, and the
Okay, so in that video, you can clearly see how she enunciates her words. She is really eye-catching with her hat, so that's how she grabs your attention. And then she also starts off the speech with sort of like not really serious topic. She talks about like dances that we have at our school, and that's how she grabs your attention. So this, I have some topics about when speaking specifically. So this is another example that I have. In this video, it's like a mock trial competition, which we'll watch later. But first, I want to talk about what I wrote. So you should, first of all, focus on what you're saying. So don't be like sort of drifting off. I think your attention and your mind should all be focused on one thing, which is what you're saying. And first, I want to say, like, emphasize, if your mind is going elsewhere, then that's also where your audience is going. So if you're looking at one place and you're centered and you're just like grounded while you're talking, then your audience is going to feel the same way. If you're really nervous while you're talking, that also affects the audience and they're going to be kind of restless. If you're moving around, pacing a lot, your hands are super like expressive and they're really crazy, then your audience isn't going to feel like focused at all and they're just going to be all over the place like you. So how you act when you're speaking is how you want your audience to perceive you and receive you. So if you're focused, they're also going to be focused on what you're saying. You want to be slow and steady. I know that a lot of people, you will have like a time limit or a word limit, but you should still be slow and steady. I think that if your words are really concise and you have a simple speech, but you speak with emphasis and you're slow, then the audience can hear you. And it's a lot better than just rapping your way through a speech that no one's going to get just to fit in what you want to say into the word limit. You also really want to emphasize your words. So this is one of the things that I learned from mock trial. If you're like an attorney and you're doing opening or closing statements, you really want to emphasize your words and certain parts of it to sort of give the audience that effect and also keep them interested. So if you're talking monotone the whole time and you're not really giving any inflection, you're just like saying blah, 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 then they're going to get bored. But by emphasizing certain words, your audience will be also engaged in what you're saying. Also, more volume is better than none. So I would rather, or your audience would rather you be yelling at them completely than just like whispering really softly. This also kind of relates to mock trial. So pay attention to how your volume fluctuates throughout the presentation. If there is some part that you're really passionate about, like if you're doing an election speech, for example, and like at the end, you really want high energy to leave them with a big impression of how you were. So at the end, you're probably going to talk louder and say like, thank you guys, vote Audrey for secretary or something. And you don't want to whisper that because that just leaves a bad ending. Also in the beginning, you want to be loud and start off strong. So don't start off really softly or else you're going to lose your audience from the beginning. Additionally, practice is key. So I think practice, it really makes, it really ties the bow at the end. So if you have a good speech and you're like a fine public speaker, but you don't practice, you're never actually going to like get your full potential. So practice is super important. Practice when you're walking, practice like on your bed before you go to sleep, practice in front of the mirror. You can also record yourself and practice. That's another great thing. And watch like what your hands do, what your feet do, and such. So practice is also super important. I know a lot of people like me, I would say I do well under pressure. I get like adrenaline, which sort of makes me more focused, I guess, and it kind of gives me good luck. So if I'm nervous about public speaking and I practice a lot, then I'll be fine. but for some people, adrenaline might mess you up. So you want to practice so much that it's just like muscle memory at that point. Even if you like, if you're scared of blanking out, even if you sort of forget something in the middle of like talking, you have practiced so much that it's just like ingrained in your head that you won't totally trip up or anything. So we're gonna watch this video. It's 9 minutes. I'm not going to play the whole thing. I just want to watch like a few minutes, and I want you guys to focus on again like her body language and how she emphasizes her words. That's super important.
The evidence doesn't lie. So what is
Okay, so what she's really saying is not that important. It's just like a case about something. But I hope you guys saw how she really emphasizes certain words and how she moves her hands. So her hands, to me, they're not distracting at all. They actually add onto her performance. So that's what it is. It's like a performance for her. But it really adds onto the performance and it makes you focus more on what she's saying. She is also moving around while she's talking, but it's not like pacing, it's not nervous. She's really moving with precision and with purpose. So that's something you want to focus on, is if you're going to move during your presentation, it's natural for us to like walk around when we're nervous. Don't just pace around, walk with purpose so that the audience like also follows you. Okay, so here are some more tips that I have. First of all, when you use your hands, so our hands, we tend to, when we're doing public speaking, we tend to cover our vital organs when we're nervous. So people, they'll cross their hands, they'll clasp them together, they'll like go like this or whatever. It's because when you're nervous, you want to protect yourself. It's just a natural instinct. So what you want to do when you're public speaking is put your hands out like this. Don't close them, don't put them together. Make sure they're loose. They could be by your sides, they could be open. When I'm talking, I like to go like this. Also like in debate or mock trial, these are like, it's kind of like this as well. But put your palms out and present yourself to the audience. So be super open to them, and that way, like they'll receive you well too. Another thing, as I said, don't pace or bounce up and down. Some people like they'll go like this the entire time. It's super distracting. And if you're walking around, as I said before, do it with purpose. So you can even plan out when you're going to start walking in your speeches. And the audience, they will follow you if you're doing it with purpose, and it's going to help. Remember to also look around and give attention to everyone. So one thing that I always did, I took a leadership class as part of my middle school. It was an actual class, and we had to do presentations all the time. And one of the biggest things that our teacher always said was like, you didn't give enough love to this side, or like, what happened to these students over here? Because our classroom was set up in a way where we would present in the middle and there would be a U shape around us. And what I noticed is everyone, they would either talk like specifically to the students on this side or only to the teacher or like only to someone on this side. And it's really important to look around and give attention to everyone. So you don't need to make eye contact or like go around in like a line making eye contact with everyone. That's not what this is saying. But I just want you to focus on like sort of looking around and giving attention to like everyone in a general vicinity. So don't just only like reach one part because the people that you're looking at, they're most likely going to be taking in the most of what you're saying. And if you're only focusing on like talking to the teacher or talking to one person, then everyone around you, they're sort of lost. Like they don't really know what you're saying. They're not going to receive you as well. So look around and give attention to everyone. If you hit eye contact, what I used to do is I was an MC for a while for like a dance studio and it was like 500 people and I obviously couldn't see anyone clearly. So what I did was I just looked far out into the audience and I would just like continuously just like kind of turn my head. And that also works. So if you don't like um eye contact, which eye contact is fine, I guess. If you're just scared of that, you could also look at the center of people's foreheads. So eye contact is super powerful, but if that kind of like makes you nervous or you don't want to do it, if you look at the center of everyone's forehead, it gives the same effect. It kind of makes them feel like you're looking into their eyes, but you're really not. You're just looking at their forehead. As I said before, like focusing on one area of the audience, it will decrease your influence. Okay, so I have a Kahoot. I'm gonna stop sharing and then share the link and we can do the Kahoot. And the Kahoot is just gonna be about like what I talked about just now, like public speaking, grit, and that stuff. So give me a second. Um, the pin is on the screen and then there's a QR code. So you guys can join the Kahoot. And I'll wait for like 3 or 4 people and then we can just start. I'm gonna start. I believe if you're still trying to join, um, you can still join in the middle. So for this one, it's not, there's no way to measure it. The other one, not attainable, too far-fetched. I think exercising once a week by running a mile without stopping is okay. Like I can run a mile without stopping, and I do it more than once a week. So I think it's not that bad, I guess. But the one that's most obvious is that there's no way to measure it. So like you would need like a log or some sort of like tracking device to measure it. That's how you would measure this. Okay, good job. Okay, good job, guys. So it's measurable and relevant. The other ones, they're just kind of bad answers. Okay, yeah. So grit is sort of like perseverance and focus on long-term goals. So it's not like something really short. You want to continue to persevere on one single goal, and that's what makes you successful. So yeah, it's long term. Okay, good job. I talked about this a little bit, about adrenaline, but I think we went over. Yeah. So basically, adrenaline, it does help you do well in certain cases, but you should also definitely practice a lot. Okay, yeah, this is true. It does build grit and it's just good for you overall. Yeah. So practicing in front of mirrors is good. The other answers are all just, again, the rad. It's like kind of the only correct answer. Another way is just like recording yourself. You could do it like before you go to school, things like that. Okay. This is talking about how you should act when you're like writing a speech. Okay, yeah. So it's supposed to be formal language and very to the point. You don't want like a lot of humor or anything. Nice. Yeah. So it makes a connection between the speaker and the audience, and it keeps them focused. Okay, this is the last one. I believe we covered this in the video. Yeah, it's false. So the amount of grit you can have, it can be improved. I believe like it has stuff to do with your upbringing, but you can definitely grow it in the future. Okay. Good job. Okay, yay. Good job, guys. Now I'm going to share my screen again, and there's like one more thing that we're gonna go over today, and then after that you'll be done, and then I'll go over like more stuff tomorrow. Let me stop the music. Okay. So these are like the fundamentals of leadership. It's 2 slides. First, I think I'm gonna go over these 3 today, and then tomorrow I'll go over the rest. So the fundamentals of leadership, it's from a book called 7 Habits of Highly Effective Teens. And it's basically just talking about how you can be more effective and grow yourself and be a better leader. So the first thing is self-awareness. You really want to know your strengths and weaknesses and how you can help out. So like if you're going to be in a team, you should always know like what everyone's good at. Like as I was saying before, you don't really want a team full of like really outspoken people, and you don't want a team of like 20 people who are all super shy. So you want a team where everyone can like do a little bit of something and they're all good at their own thing. So if you know like how good everyone is at doing a specific thing, you can assign tasks better and get better results. So for example, like if you're super good at writing things down, then if you're in like a group project, you can say like, oh hey, I can be like the note taker or something. And you're kind of just assigning roles so that everyone can do better instead of just like fighting over certain roles or just all trying to do something together without having any organization. So how you can achieve self-awareness and kind of know what you're good at, what your strengths and your weaknesses are. The first thing is you can do like 16 personalities to get to know yourself better. So we'll do this tomorrow. I'll give you guys a link. 16 personalities is just like there's personality types, and each one kind of you can fit into one of each, and it just shows you like what you're good at, what your strengths are, and what your weaknesses are. And you can also just try to be more outgoing and get to know everyone's strengths and weaknesses better in a leadership environment. So if you're doing a group project and you know specifically like, oh hey, my friend Ava, she's really good at public speaking, then maybe you want to volunteer her to do like a lot of the speaking in your presentation because she's good at that. The second one is communication. So having good communication with others is super important. For a team, you want to keep in mind that everyone should be heard. So I know often like there's one person that's kind of silent, and even though just because like they're silent doesn't mean they don't have any opinions. So make sure that everyone gets their opinion heard. And if you see that like there's someone who's trying to talk, but people keep on talking over them, then you should probably say like, oh, hey, I think that this person has something to say. Can we like listen to them for a second? And you might find that they're usually like, they kind of might be the most insightful out of everyone. So how to achieve? You can also just practice talking to people more. So for example, writing emails, speaking out in class, writing speeches, public speaking, etc. All of these things foster good communication. So the last thing we're going to talk about today is comfort zone. So comfort zone is just sort of like trying to step out of your comfort zone. And this helps you become a lot better at leadership and just in general. A lot of things, they may be daunting, so you need to believe in yourself a lot. A comfort zone is kind of just like your own area. And as people, we naturally don't want to step outside our comfort zone because we think like, oh, it's scary. I don't know what's going to happen. So for example, you could be kind of like not that good at communication. You don't really want to talk to other people. Stepping out of your comfort zone, it helps grow yourself. So by talking to more people, you can get more confident in your own abilities, and you'll also get better communication. So just like stepping outside comfort zone overall is super nice. Tips for a team: if you want to foster this like in a team and sort of like help everyone do this like and be a leader, after you work on yourself, you can help other people grow outside the comfort zone and just spread a good influence overall. How to do this would be kind of like SMART goals. So you can take small steps and keep promises to yourself by stepping out of your comfort zone. And this will help build trust in yourself as well. you can build grit by believing in yourself and getting yourself to do more comfortable with things that daunt you. So this is kind of like overcoming your fears, and it just helps your confidence a lot. Okay, I believe we're good with time. Thank you everyone for coming to this class today. There's going to be, the last one is tomorrow, and I have like more videos, and there's also a fun game at the end. So make sure you come tomorrow. Thank you guys for coming. Bye. Thank you. Bye-bye.